You know, there's a place that covers more than half our entire planet, right under the waves. We're talking about the deep ocean. It's this world of just crushing pressure, total darkness, but also packed with incredible untapped resources. For pretty much all of human history, it's been totally out of our reach, but that's changing. Right now, it's becoming humanity's next and maybe even our last great frontier.
And what's down there? Well, the seafloor is just scattered with these mineral riches. We're talking about nodules packed with manganese, cobalt, nickel, all the stuff that's absolutely essential for, our smartphones, electric vehicles, you name it. And the thing is, the technology to actually get down there and grab them, it's finally here. So the question really isn't if we can mine the deep sea anymore. It's how we're going to do it.
But, how is only half the story. The real question, the bigger one, is who? This isn't some company's backyard. It's not a single nation's territory. So who gets to decide the regulations? Who makes sure it's all done safely and fairly and in a way that benefits everyone? Basically, who gets to write the rule book for the deep?
Okay, so before we can even get into the rule book, we got to understand the territory it covers and what a territory it is. We're talking about a world of crushing pressure, endless darkness, a place with hydrothermal vents and creatures that look like they're straight out of a sci-fi movie. This is the seabed in international waters, an area so vast you can't even really imagine it, and it's totally outside the control of any single country.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Legally speaking, this huge area is what's called a global commons. Think of it kind of like Antarctica or even outer space. It's a shared inheritance for all of humanity. And that creates this incredibly complex problem, right? How on earth do you manage something that belongs to literally everyone?
So how do you even begin to solve a problem like that? Well, you create something like a global landlord, an organization whose whole job is to manage this shared space and basically write the master lease agreement for the entire planet's ocean floor.
And this is that lease agreement. Well, in the making. This isn't some abstract idea. It is a real 305-page document that nations are debating word by word right now. What we're looking at here is the actual draft rulebook that's going to govern the future of our oceans.
And the core principle, the whole idea behind it, is stated right up front in the preamble. It's this one single phrase, the common heritage of humankind. That idea is the philosophical bedrock for everything else in this entire document. It means that any wealth that comes out of the deep sea has to be shared and managed for the benefit of all of us.
So this global landlord actually has a name. It's the International Seabed Authority, or ISBA for short. It was created by the UN specifically to be the steward of this common heritage. Its job is to develop the rules and to oversee any and all mining activities on the international seabed, basically on behalf of every single person on Earth. All right, so if a company wants to actually start mining these resources, how do they do it? Well, they can't just, send a machine down there. They have to apply to the ISBA for a contract. And let me tell you, that process is incredibly rigorous.
The journey from just submitting an application to actually getting approval is a long one. It involves multiple, very deliberate steps and reviews by different groups within the ISBA. So it starts with a preliminary check by the Secretary General, then it goes to a super technical review by the Commission, and only then, if it passes all that, can it go for final approval by the Council, which is made up of all the member states. It's a whole system of checks and balances designed to be, well, exhaustive.
And the application itself, it's just monumental. I mean, really. An applicant can't just show up with a simple business plan. No way. They have to submit this whole suite of documents that covers every possible angle you can think of, from a super detailed mining work plan to a comprehensive environmental impact statement and even a closure plan for what happens when the work is all done, maybe decades from now. It's a really clear signal of just how seriously everyone is taking this.
But, okay, even with all these rules and regulations, there's this central tension that just won't go away. You've got this immense pressure to get at these valuable resources on one side, and on the other, this profound responsibility to protect one of the last truly wild places left on our planet.
And you can see that tension written right into the preamble of the regulations. The document basically has two goals, and sometimes they compete with each other. On one hand, it's there to regulate the exploitation of all those resources. But on the other hand, it's there to ensure the effective protection of the marine environment. The entire debate really is about finding the right balance between those two things.
Now, this line right here, from Regulation 2, is one of the most hotly contested parts of the whole document. It basically suggests that no mining should happen until the legal framework for environmental protection is adopted. And that has kicked off this huge debate. What does adopted or fully in place actually mean?
And honestly, can we ever have enough scientific certainty to feel comfortable enough to begin?
So how does this whole debate actually play out? Well, it happens in the tiny details, in the commas, the definitions, even in the punctuation. It's this quiet, intense battle being fought with words. Let's take a closer look.
When you actually read through this document, you'll see square brackets just everywhere. And each one of those is like a little diplomatic battleground. It signals a word or a phrase that the countries haven't agreed on yet. It's basically a visual map of all the disagreements.
Okay, let's look at a real example here. This is from Regulation Forterre. The sentence is all about protecting historical artifacts. But notice the brackets. Inside them, you've got two completely different phrases that nations are literally arguing over right now.
So here they are, side by side. Option 1 is pretty straightforward. Objects and sites of an archaeological or historical nature. Option 2 is underwater cultural heritage. Now, they might sound kind of similar, but in the world of international law, the difference is huge. Underwater cultural heritage is a specific, legally defined term from a UNESCO convention. And choosing that phrase carries a whole set of obligations that the other, more general phrase just doesn't.
So, is this just a minor wording change, a small semantic debate, or does this one choice fundamentally change the level of protection we give to sunken ships, ancient artifacts, and all these other treasures of human history? This is exactly the kind of high-stakes decision that's being made word by word in these negotiations.
So, where does all this lead? What happens next? The most important thing to remember here is that this story, this massive global effort to write a rulebook for the ocean, is far from over. Not even close.
This quote from the document's own explanatory note really says it all. It's a core principle of these negotiations. Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. What that means is, even if all the countries agree on 304 pages, a single unresolved bracket on that last page means the entire rulebook is still up for debate. Nothing is final until everything is final.
And honestly, that's what makes this document so fascinating. It's not some old historical text we're just analyzing. It is a living, breathing negotiation happening right now. We are literally watching in real time as the world tries to write the Constitution for over half the surface of the planet.
When you boil it all down, this entire 305-page document is an attempt to answer one fundamental question. Can we get the resources our modern world demands while also protecting the fragile, mysterious ecosystems of the deep sea? Is it possible to have both profit and protection? The final version of this rulebook, well, that's going to be humanity's answer.